Hello guys, and welcome to Foresight Timeline Hangout 78. This is another one which is pre-recorded. Probably the next one, which will be next month, will be live. I don't know if I might have another look at StreamYard. I don't know about Zoom, but I'll definitely try to do one live, if not the very next one. Right, this is a slightly different approach to Foresight Timeline. As you can see by the title, it's called The 3 Aitches of Sexual Predation. These are hypermasculinity, hypergamy, and hybristophilia. This is really a warning to women to keep away from certain types of men. I'm going to discuss 3 cases in particular. 2 of them are ongoing. There's the Mendy case. This is a footballer, soccer player, who's been tried for a number of rapes, been acquitted of several of them. He's still got proceedings are ongoing. There's going to be a retrial. Andrew Tate, of whom I've heard only fairly recently, don't think much of him, and David Carrick, who was a Metropolitan Police officer who pleaded guilty to 49 offences. Hypermasculinity. Let's deal with these one by one. Hypermasculinity. That needs no explaining. Bush said a few things about that. Where's he now? Hypergamy. This is perhaps the most interesting one. The idea is that a man, sorry about the creaking table, it's a feature of most of my videos now. Hypergamy is something the interesting one. The idea that a man signals to a woman that he's superior, the alpha male, whatever, by not sort of slapping her about, but by treating her as though she's inferior. I've probably rooted in from when our barely human ancestors came down from the trees, to use one of my favourite expressions. One of my very favourite expressions. It's the idea that women look up to men who show their dominance. Islam works like this, that the male is dominant. I don't think we really need it in this age, although a man should be master in their own household, certainly if he's got kids. Well, as I haven't. But it's one thing for a man to signal his superiority, it's another to slap a woman about, and some of the abuses that go on. And there's hybristophilia. This is the most sinister one. This is attraction for criminal behaviour. Can be men as well, but it's usually women who end up either being murdered by men or becoming their accomplices. I hesitate to describe Fred and Rose West like that, but she met him when she was 15 and he groomed her. For those who are not familiar, Fred West is one of Britain's most notorious serial killers. He committed suicide on remand and left his wife to face the music on her own. And in fact, she, although she was groomed by him, she ended up excelling him in depravity. Hybristophilia, I say, it's the attraction of women for dangerous men, for men with criminal backgrounds. I mean, criminal with a capital C. I mean, gangster types and thugs and men who make a living out of preying on others, basically. And I suppose Carrick could be fits in that box, although he was a police officer, police and thieves. But this is a very serious situation. I've no doubt that Carrick pleaded guilty to all these offences. I'll just go over some of them. This is a report from The Guardian, not necessarily the most reliable of sources. Carrick, 45, I was 85 serious offences over 17 years. I thought it was, I think it was pleaded guilty to a total of 49 charges covering 85 serious offences, with the voices of the victims yet to be heard. The Guardian has obtained the first account from a woman who described how the firearms officer sent her selfies from work in his uniform, some showing his met-issue gun, and later threatened to murder her, saying, "I can kill you without leaving any evidence," or more accurately, without facing any consequences. I'll put a link with this video to A Privilege Money Can't Buy, which is an article I wrote about police officers a good few years ago, a decade or more ago now. And this guy was, over a period of a decade, 2 decades, he abused a number of women. There were reports of his bad behaviour, but nothing happened. And this is part for the course. I think I should explain here something about the police and false allegations and the like. Police officers are often falsely accused of all sorts of things. Like celebrities, and now like anyone who has an internet presence. If you have 10,000 followers on YouTube or Instagram or whatever, and you upset someone by saying something or not saying something, not replying to a message, whatever, that person may be, well, as I said before, there are over 1 billion people on YouTube. It's probably more than that now. Staggering number when you consider the population of the earth. Are all those people sane? Are they all legal, decent, honest and truthful? No. There are crackpots and all sorts of lunatics among them. And the police deal with all manner of people, but there are a lot of people who they come to contact with who are on the fringes of society, who have very little morals or none at all, and that they are constantly falsely accused. Now this works falsely accused. This works both ways. Some police officers, well, the majority of police officers like to throw their weight about, if not actually physically, then to bully people with. I've had this with my personal experience is that female detectives are the worst. I think from personal experience, plural female detectives. But basically, the police are cunts. I like to use the word filth because it's part insult, part compliment. Because in order to solve a lot of crimes, they have to have nasty, dirty, suspicious, filthy minds, especially where a crime scene has been staged, somebody's been framed, etc. Maybe a man hires someone to murder his wife, or vice versa. But they know that some people have little or no credibility. Anyone who's served a substantial prison sentence, maybe 3 or 4, anyone with serious criminal convictions. For women, this is mostly related to prostitution, drugs, and the like, and shoplifting. And they can prey on these. They can prey on these women. The classic case was Daniel Holtzclaw, corrupt police officer in Oklahoma City, who was convicted in 2016 of 18. He was charged with 36 offences, committed 18. Convicted of 18, and was given a 263-year sentence. He was preying on women who were on all these victims were black, and he was halfway. It isn't significant they were black. Well, perhaps he liked black women. Well, he was engaged to a white one, but perhaps he liked abusing black women. But like, they were drug addicts and like on the fringe of society. One turned up to a court hearing high on crack. I think it was the actual trial. And there were a number of false allegations made against him as well. There were something 7, including one man. And one woman, Shanice Barksdale, who was on the timeline, was convicted of falsely accusing him. But there's no doubt his conviction was sound. He was preying on vulnerable women who had little credibility, but didn't report him. Then he stopped an older woman who was driving her own car, who wasn't a crack addict or a prostitute, and he forced her to commit a sex act. She went to the police and his goose was cooked. I don't know anything about Carrick's victims because anonymity. I've no doubt that in due course one or two of them will speak, but I would suggest they are women who Gary met at least one of them on some dating app. Let's have a look. Where's that Guardian again? Dear. Oh, here we are. One woman's act of bravery exposed officers' abuse and met failures. One woman. So I would assume he was. Let's go to this. Warning: this article contains graphic descriptions of sexual violence. This was one woman who wasn't a crack addict or a prostitute or something. From 2003, Carrick waged a campaign of terror against women who fell for his initial charms. Yeah, a common theme among the victims what they fear complaining to police about attacks by a fellow officer. On meeting a woman, Carrick started out being pleasant. He would be very charming, he would appear to be fun, loving, charming, charismatic. He was very manipulative, very self-confident, almost to the point of being cocky, and he knew what he was doing. It soon turned into a nightmare, Moore said. It soon turned into a nightmare. Moore, this is a bloke, Detective Ian Moore, said that one of his victims, she reports being orally raped whilst in the shower. She reports being orally raped whilst in his shower, after being dragged in by her hair, being whipped with a belt, suffocated during oral sex, and sexually assaulted with sex toys. I don't know how much of this. I mean, there's probably some hyperbole and exaggeration here, but maybe not so much. He used dating sites such as Badoo and Tinder. After his arrest in October 2021, searches of his electronic devices revealed 40 searches for pornography containing anal sex, yuck, and rough anal sex acts he later carried out on his victims. Carrick would abuse women to hollow out their self-esteem, telling them, "You're my slave, you're a whore." And I guess he was sleeping with a whore. And this is what stood out was the common details of what the women suffered. This is a bloke named Shah, who is a detective or prosecutor or whatever. There were striking similarities between what all the victims were saying. For example, that he would urinate in their mouth. Something you wouldn't be able to make up. They had similar account to someone else that specific. He would force them to give oral sex to the point where they were gagging. Again, another similar fact between many of the complaints. Well, as if they were questioned separately and there's no contamination. Yeah, I mean, the guy pleaded guilty, so there's no arguing that. But he was guilty of false imprisonment as well as rape. Yeah, I mean, there were complaints made against this guy, and they were probably their peers have been dismissed. What's happening now is that stupid stuff that police officers are being dismissed for telling jokes. It's ludicrous. Colleagues knew him as Bastard Dave. Well, that isn't necessarily an insult, is it? I mean, not for a police officer. All cops and all that. All cops are bastards if you haven't, ACAB if you haven't heard that. But yeah, this is I would say it's the case of hybristophilia, not the most extreme case. You know, he doesn't appear to have killed anyone, but he was accused of a number of allegations, all against women. You know, so It's one here. The woman's complaint led to Carrick being placed on restricted duties rather than being suspended and having his gun taken away. He was a Royal Protection Officer. But she soon withdrew cooperation with the police investigation, and within weeks Carrick's gun was returned and restrictions were lifted. The woman was telling the truth, and in December 2022, Carrick admitted attacks on her in a pre-trial hearing. Well, I mean, we can commend him for his honesty, if nothing else. But, yeah, this is what hybristophilia looks like. You don't usually expect it from a police officer. My experience of police is that they may not be on a take, but there's different forms of corruption. They're very well paid now. They have been since Margaret Thatcher gave them a big pay rise. Very well paid, and their corruption tends to be, well, fitting. It's called noble cause corruption. Look it up. Noble cause corruption. That was going to be the title of a book I have sitting on my hard disk for over a decade. Well, nearly 2 decades now, but that's another story. But you have to avoid women. Women have to avoid men like this. Police officers. No, seriously. With this sort of dominance, it's and why more of them didn't go to the police. You know, I mean, I've no doubt he targeted women very, very carefully, and they paid the price, and now he is paying the price. Okay, that's Pond Life. Andrew Tate isn't much better. I hadn't heard of him until very recently. He was a kickboxer, quite a good one, and made some money at that, and then he moved into, well, he became one of these internet celebrities, and he made a lot of money managing the sex industry, put it like that. Not prostitution, but I mean, he's got a bad attitude. Well, he obviously knows, he obviously understands things about, he doesn't fall around this feminist garbage. He understands that there's a hierarchy, that historically men, why there are such things as gender roles. But he takes it to extremes, and he's I mean, blokes like this, they make a lot of noise, they get a lot of attention, they're built up by the media, and then at times they're brought down by the media, although this guy seems to have brought himself down. But I mean, he calls women bitches. I mean, I call women bitches, I call women cunts as well. We're not women are close to me, you know. I mean, well, there aren't any now, but there were. There have been in my life. But you know, I mean, you don't call ordinary decent women bitches and cunts. Not you don't take a woman to bed and call her a bitch, do you? I mean, and he's got a lot of trouble. He was accused of rape in England. Which the case was dropped. I don't know. I mean, when it's a false allegation or what, but he's behind bars now in what was the former Iron Curtain, behind the former Iron Curtain. He's been accused of sex trafficking and all sorts of garbage like that. I mean, trafficking is a narrative, but there's an attorney, an American attorney, Bruce Rivers. He's analysed the case, and he's looked at. He said that the guy condemns himself at his own mouth. If he's brought to trial for anything, they're going to use his own words against him. He's 36 now. I mean, for teenagers to talk like, or a young bloke to talk like that, he's you know, young blokes do this, and this guy is very young blokes are. How can I put it? There's something called game, and there's pick-up artists, and these are men who make a lot of money selling their techniques to younger men, sometimes not so younger men, impressionable men, and they make a lot of money, but do these other guys get the birds? I don't know. I mean, I think Tate he's facing a lot of trouble, and he's going to have to change his attitude, because this is hypermasculinity, and the wrong kind of hypermasculinity. Hypergamy, because women flock to him, some certain types of women, and hybristophilia to some extent, although it appears to be more financial and tax dodging that he's got. Well, it's much more problems, but I know. So the guys like this, they're a bad influence on young men. I've never fallen for big talkers, because I've always been wary of them. I prefer picked results, and you see that these people, they promise a lot, but they deliver nothing, except these 19 custom cars, whatever they are. So anyway, you've got problems. Has he been falsely accused? I don't know, but a man who treats women like that, at some point he's going to be accused of something, falsely or otherwise, embellished allegations. Right, now we come on to, would you believe, an even more odious case, Benjamin Mendy. Benjamin Mendy is a soccer player. He's black and he's from France. He's been, I don't follow soccer, but he was a Manchester City player. He and a co-accused were charged with a number of rapes on women. One was 19 or so, presumably at the time, so a teenager, well, it's a woman, and he's been cleared of most of the allegations, but he's facing a retrial. Back in November 2021, Paul Todd sent me a video of Mendy having sex with one of his white whores in a shower. Pretty disgusting. I deleted it. If you haven't heard of Paul Todd, he was my first site sponsor. Full Soap Timeline Hangout number 65 is dedicated to him. It's called In Memoriam. He was a football man. Well, he was a great Chelsea supporter. We found this video, and this is from a BBC report on September 13, 2022. On Tuesday, Judge Stephen Everett ordered the jury to clear the defendants of those counts after prosecution of no further evidence. There's several counts here. And it's here that the rape charge dropped against Mr. Mendy related to an incident with Mr. Maturi, his co-defendant, that is, when the woman claimed she awoke to find the footballer raping her. Just above that, earlier the jury was told of a private video of the woman having enthusiastic sex with Mr. Maturi when she claimed she'd been raped. So these are whores, basically. But even whores can be raped. These women, they get involved with this group sex thing, and it's quite disgusting, honestly. There are worse though. I mean, I wouldn't call this hybristophilia, but it's certainly extreme hypergamy. But there are women who write to serial killers. Some even marry them. Charles Manson used to get a lot of email from fans, including men. But if you want to see how deluded some of these women are, check out the video of the Ted Bundy trial, one of the Ted Bundy trials. There are young blonde women sitting in the front of the public gallery, public seats, whatever they have in the United States. Excuse the yawning, it's getting on for 2:30 AM. There were young women sitting in the front, obviously admiring him, and if Ted had the chance, he'd have murdered every one of them after bashing them, raping them, just a monster. But the women find this sort of thing attractive, you know. I mean, you just, some women, some young impressionable women, same as some impressionable young men find Andrew Tate impressive. But this is, I'll just give you an example of just how pathetic some women are. I found this a day or two ago. Well, I found it on this week, and it's Wednesday today, so do the math. I'll probably put this up on Thursday. This is from London Metro. It's time to talk about facials, the kind that involves semen, by Rebecca Reed. This is February 23rd, 2018. The first time a man came on my face, I should have missed. What? I mean, it's just... It's got a long thing about several facials. I mean, what sort of man wants to come on a woman's face? And what sort of woman would take it? I mean, it's just... If a man does that, he's telling you that you're trash, basically. I mean, just... What's this? In the Metro survey, 90 people, 89% of respondents said they'd had in the dear, I get worse. In the Metro UK survey of 90 people, 89% of respondents said that they had experienced a facial. I mean, seriously? I mean, just... And these... You know, it's understandable if women get raped. Some of them, because they're just asking for it, you know. This isn't victim blaming. I mean, you wouldn't let your 9-year-old daughter play out at night in the dark alone, would you? And would you? So why would you go to the home of someone like Benjamin Mendy alone? And allow him to treat you like that, or fuck him in the shower? I mean, anyway, this is where a lot of rape and the more serious crimes come from. Women associated with toxic men. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. Yeah, let's get that straight. There are toxic men the same way there are toxic women. And these men, I mean, this got Mendy. I mean, okay, innocent until who are guilty of that, but why would they do something like that? Yeah. Just utterly depraved. So that's about the end of this. I'll do what I want to do a live one fairly soon. Stay away from these men, ladies. And if you're a man if you find a woman who'll bend you or too well like that, run a mile, because you could end up like Andrew Tate